So I'm gonna do wine story time, and normally I'm on my couch doing my wine story times, but I really just don't feel like dragging all my filming stuff over to my couch, so you guys get this. Hi. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Britt, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you probably should, because I talk about geeky things, but sometimes I do sit on my couch and tell you crazy stories about the reasons why I drink. But today I'm going to stand and tell you guys about the reasons why I drink. And mostly because this isn't as tragic of a story as other stories I've told. This is not necessarily a traumatizing story, and I am nervous about telling this story, if only just because I know I'm sending it to the person that is involved with this story, and hoping that he gets a good laugh out of this, and wondering if he even remembers. I look very different. Hi, Ken Barlow, and I'm going to use your name because this is not a defaming story. It's more defaming for me than anybody else, but you know, thanks for following me on Twitter. I'd like to believe it's because you remembered me and saw my name and was like, oh, I remember that name. She's the girl who stuck her tongue out at me on live television. For the record, I did not stick my tongue out at Ken Barlow, but that is what everybody thinks. So I have talked about this Frisbee before, and you really can't see the writing anymore. It has faded in time. It used to say, to Brittany, you're a star, Ken Barlow. So Ken Barlow used to be the weatherman for NBC, for KARE 11 NBC News. He is still on the news. He came back to Minnesota quite a while ago now, which made me think about this story a lot. My parents are trying to find the footage of this story, of the footage of this experience of mine of being on the news. We have not found it yet, and as soon as we do, I'm going to go ahead and do a digital download of it from VCR into my computer, and I will do a reaction video unless Ken Barlow somehow digs it up and brings me on and we can both react to it. So I got this as a gift on live television because, so the thing is that they threw this one to Ken Barlow when they were going to be giving him like the live television feed, and I was gonna throw it back. But he just said, he had me throw it back, and so I was about to go and throw it back, and he was like, no, just say back to you. And I was like, okay, back to you. So here's the story. So I used to live in Breezy Point, Minnesota. Breezy Point, Minnesota is a very famous town here in Minnesota, if only just for the fact that it has the Breezy Point Resort, which I've taken you guys to on my vlogging channel and probably on this channel too. I think I did a video all about where I grew up on this channel back in like 2015. But either way, I grew up in Breezy Point, went to school in Pequot Lakes, but I lived right outside of the resort. And the resort is also famous for Billy Fawcett. So Billy Fawcett I don't remember much about who he was, but he haunts Breezy Point Resort a little bit. Or at least that is the lore. If you guys believe in ghosts, you guys know there is no mystery of me living in a haunted house or being around haunted houses because I grew up in one as well. So Breezy Point is just a very haunted place apparently. But Billy Fawcett had a mansion, and it's now known as the Fawcett House. We've actually stayed in it many times. It is open to the public to rent and live in for a short time. So my dad's family used to rent it out every year, and we would all live in it together for kind of a Christmas get together. And the last time we did it was in 2010. There is one video from that time period where my cousin Elizabeth and I reacted to a very old video from when we were kids at the Fawcett House, telling the story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Anyway, KARE 11 decided to do a piece on it, and so there was going to be this big pancake breakfast where we could all watch the news being done live right there at the marina at Breezy Point Resort. And so my family, of course, decided we were going to go. Now, I don't know what went into the decision making about this portion of it, but all I know is that the producers came up and talked to my parents, and they just thought I was really cute and they wanted to put me on television. I was like 8 at the time. I think I was in 2nd grade. And what was really exciting about it was at the time I wanted to be a news reporter. I used to do just this. I just didn't put it on the internet because we didn't have the internet, because this was the 90s, the early 90s. I just recorded very strange things that were most definitely just me pretending to do the news. I called my new show Brittany's 2x2. And that's a reason why I want to drink. Let me just take a quick sip. I do have the VHSs. Actually, I think there's one down here, because this unit is actually my dad's, and there's a bunch of tapes down here. I should look through all those tapes and see if I can find the Care 11 one. There is another story that I want to tell, but and apparently according to my dad, because we had a copy of that one too, but according to my dad, it got lost. It was just, well, not lost, but it was erased during transit home, because it had to go through stuff, and it got erased because of the airport security back in the 90s. So anyway, I really wanted to be a news reporter, and at the time that was like my big thing. That's what I wanted to do. So as you can tell, ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to talk to people in front of a camera. So no surprise that I'm doing it now. It's just I'm not posting it on my bed. I actually have a tripod now. I've moved up in the world. I can now legally drink. I was really excited about the idea of going on the news. So here comes the weatherman, Ken Barlow, and he plops down next to me. He introduces himself, so that obviously I'm not super nervous, but I've never been nervous around strangers. Stranger danger was just not a thing for me when I was a kid. And so I just was outgoing all the time. I made friends with strangers all the time. How I was never abducted, I will never know. And I know I wasn't, because I look too much like my dad to not be my dad's kid. So at least I know I have not been abducted. I don't know what went into the decision making about putting me on the news with Ken Barlow, the weatherman, but you know, it was really exciting for me. I was super excited about it because I just really wanted to be a news reporter. I wanted to be Mary Richards, but I wanted to be on the news. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever watched the Barry Tyler Moore Show? I mean, Nick at Night was a thing when I was a kid. I mean, it's still a thing, but like, that's how I watched it. So that was kind of the start of it. So they tossed the Frisbee, the ladies that were on the news at the time, they tossed the Frisbee to the people off camera, then the camera people threw this Frisbee to us, and Ken caught it, and then he started the interview with me. And this was where I need to take another drink, because this was absolutely embarrassing looking back, because all I really remember was realizing I was on live television, and all of a sudden it wasn't just my parents' big shoulder camera anymore, and that people were actually paying attention to me. And for some reason I got stage fright, like really bad stage fright. And I remember this moment vividly. So essentially what happened was he started asking me questions, and luckily he'd already kind of prefaced that. That's one of the reasons also why he came over to talk to us, because he wanted to get to know me a little bit, so he had something to talk about. And at that point, my parents had already told him that I wanted to be a news reporter, and that I did these silly little videos in my bedroom when I was little, trying to basically pretend to be a news reporter. And I had these VHS tapes full of these, and at some point I will do a reaction to them, I promise. I've not seen them since I was very young, so I've probably never watched them truly, so we'll see. We'll see how those look. Anyway, so he started asking me questions about wanting to be a news reporter. He started asking me questions about wanting to, or making these videos by taking my parents' video camera and doing them. And basically every time he asked me a question, I go, yeah, because I just couldn't calm down. Somehow my anxiety may have started there, I don't know, but I became so scared. This was before I really had stepped on stage. So this is before the acting bug had hit me, which is what made me not want to be a news reporter anymore, made me want to go into being more of a filmmaker. Well, eventually it was actor, eventually turned into voice actor, eventually turned into just full-on filmmaker / mostly directing, because that's where the true art of film comes in. And we'll talk about the auteur theory at some point on this channel, okay? For some reason I was hit by just immense stage fright about being on live television, because it just occurred to me. I looked over, so Ken's right here, right? I look over and I see myself on this massive screen TV. Just this massive screen TV, I see myself. And I thought it looked really weird. I think it was one of those plasma TVs, which is what, if you guys were around in the 90s, you guys might remember the plasma TVs. The plasma TVs were really weird. My aunt and uncle had one. They were just weird. If you were at a different angle, if you were not straight in front of those plasma screen TVs, they just looked weird. And for some reason, I thought that the movement on that, I was just mesmerized, and it just looked weird. And it looked like I was looking directly at Ken Barlow, but I was like just looking at the screen behind him. And I realized that the movement was so weird. So what do? I stick my tongue out, and I'm sitting there going, mesmerized by the way I was moving on this large screen TV. Mesmerized by the fact that I was on this huge screen TV. I was not sticking my tongue out at Ken Barlow, though my grandmother and my grandfather went to their graves believing I stuck my tongue out at Ken Barlow. I'm probably the reason he left Minnesota. Anyway, he did leave Minnesota, not anywhere near that time, but he did leave Minnesota for a while and came back and is on a different channel anyway. At some point, I started to finally kind of get over my stage fright a little bit, and I started to actually interact a little bit, and I remember him saying something, and I don't remember if it was something my mom had said in the past, or if my mom had done that in the past. There was something he said where I brought up my mom. He's like, "Oh, Mom!" And then he was like, finally, not a child. And I'm sure that was not what he was thinking. But could have been. Would have been what I would have thought. If I would have been like, the producer coming to me like, "You're gonna go interview a child," I'd be like, "Really? All right." But yeah, so then he started interviewing my parents, which was really great for them because they got kind of free publicity for their candle company that they owned at the time, that they had a candle shop for in Pequot Lakes. And so it was actually ended up being a really good situation for them. The aftermath of that was kind of interesting just because so many people thought I literally stuck my tongue out at Ken Barlow. Adults brought it up that I would see after that for years. They would bring it up. They were like, "You remember that time you were on the news with Ken Barlow?" And I'd be like, no, I don't. So when I went back to school after that, I remember specifically, and I remember one specific person. I probably have to bleep her name out a lot in Brittany's 2x2 because she was one of my big bullies that at that time of my life. But she came up to me at one point and she started making fun of me by basically walking up to me going, yeah, oh, and then she'd walk away. This happened for the rest of the school year. This was how people made fun of me for the rest of the school year. So that is one of the reasons why I drink. So there you guys have it. One of the many reasons why I drink, responsibly, of course. Mind you. I don't think I say that enough, but I definitely drink responsibly. This is my first glass of wine and I might have another over dinner. But yeah, I do drink responsibly. I don't want people to think that I'm an alcoholic when I do these videos. Anyway, but yeah, so that is definitely one of my favorite stories to tell, one of my favorite anecdotes. Now that I am much older and I understand and can take the laughter of that. But for a long time, it was actually something that I avoided for a very long time. Because again, like I said, adults would bring it up all the time. They'd be like, "You remember that time you were on the news?" Like, no, I do not. I will tell you, I am a lot better now. I actually, by the end of high school, had been on the news a couple of times, mostly for improv, which you guys will see me wear that improv shirt every once in a while, but the improv troupe that I was a part of, we did a lot of really good things. And so a lot of local news stations would come and interview us a lot. And I had actually been on the news and on the radio many times, and I got better at it. And I didn't stick my tongue out at any other news reporters. So Ken Barlow, if you are actually watching this, because I am going to send it to you, if you are actually watching this, feel special. You're the only news reporter that I have ever stuck my tongue out at before. So anyway, there you guys have it. That is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me see. I don't know what I want to put up here, but if you guys want to see my last story time, you guys can click right here. And if you guys want to see my whole playlist of all the reasons why I drank so far, you can go ahead and click this one right here. I am sure there will be more because there are plenty of reasons why I drink, because, you know, trauma is a thing. But like I said, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.